Welcome back to Explaining Everything, the channel where we dive into the stories and mysteries behind everyday things. Today's question comes from one of our curious viewers, Money Muncher 99. Thanks for the suggestion, Muncher. You asked, why are pigs associated with banks? If you've ever dropped coins into a piggy bank and wondered, why a pig? Why not a squirrel? They hoard things too. You're not alone. Today, we're cracking open the history, the weird linguistic mix-ups, and the surprising reasons behind this financial farm animal. So, if you've ever looked at a piggy bank and thought, who decided this? Stick around as we break it all down, right here on Explaining Everything. All right, so first, let's establish one thing. Pigs are not secretly running the financial system. Though, let's be honest, they couldn't do a worse job than some humans. The piggy bank actually has a long and fascinating history, and like all weird things, it started with an accident. Way back in medieval Europe, before banks were a thing for regular people, folks had to stash their money at home. But they didn't have fancy safes, so they used clay pots, which were cheap and easy to make. And the type of clay they often used was called pig. That's P-Y-G-G. So, when people said they were putting coins in a pig jar, they meant a jar made of cheap clay, not a pig-shaped container. Fast forward a few centuries, and some genius potter, probably with a sense of humor, heard about pig and thought, you know what would be hilarious? If I made a jar that actually looked like a pig. And people loved it. They were like, yes, this is how I want to store my money. Inside a small, round farm animal. And thus, the piggy bank was born. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but why didn't they make cow banks, or chicken banks, or a very sad donkey bank? Well, pigs have always been a symbol of wealth and prosperity. In many cultures, having a pig meant you were doing well in life because pigs were a great source of food. If you had pigs, you weren't starving. In some places, they were basically the medieval version of a fat savings account. Also, pigs are round and cute, and nothing screams financial responsibility like an adorable, slightly chubby farm animal staring at you while you try to resist spending your life savings on snacks. At some point, piggy banks became less about serious savings and more about teaching kids not to blow all their money at once. If you were a kid, you didn't have access to a bank account, which, let's be real, would just be full of birthday money from grandma and the occasional guilt-induced bribe from your parents. Instead, you got a piggy bank, which was designed to hold your precious coins until you were responsible enough to use them wisely, or at least until you had enough to buy something big, like a new toy, a ridiculous amount of gumballs, or that one overpriced amusement park souvenir that seemed like a great idea at the time, but later just collected dust on your shelf. Or until you got frustrated, smashed it open, and bought candy. Maybe you even felt a little guilty afterward, but hey, financial responsibility is a journey, not a sprint. And let's be real, sometimes immediate candy gratification outweighs the long-term benefits of saving. Either way, it was a learning experience, even if that lesson was just chocolate tastes better than fiscal discipline. Now, let's talk about one of the weirdest things about piggy banks. You have to break them open to get your money. What kind of twisted financial lesson is this? Imagine if your actual bank told you, hey, if you ever want your savings, just take a hammer to this vault. Originally, piggy banks didn't have a hole at the bottom because they were made from cheap clay, and adding a removable plug was too much effort. They weren't meant to be a long-term banking solution, just a temporary savings tool. So, when you needed your money, you just smashed the pig open like a weird, financially responsible piñata. Of course, modern piggy banks now have those little rubber stoppers at the bottom, because apparently people decided they liked their savings without the added stress of destruction. Today, piggy banks come in all shapes and sizes. Some are digital, some count your coins, and some probably judge your spending habits. But the classic pig shape is still the most popular. Why? Because tradition. And because nothing motivates you to save money like the looming gaze of a rotund ceramic farm animal. And fun fact, piggy banks aren't just for kids. Some adults still use them to save loose change. Except now, instead of saving up for toys, they're saving for things like vacations, emergency funds, or that overpriced coffee they swore they wouldn't buy again, but totally will. So, why is a pig associated with banks? A mix of history, language confusion, and people just really enjoying the idea of stuffing money into an animal. What started as a simple clay jar turned into a worldwide symbol of saving money, financial responsibility, and the occasional impulse to break things. So next time you see a piggy bank, remember, you're not just looking at a cute little swine. You're looking at centuries of financial tradition, medieval miscommunication, and the eternal struggle of trying to save money without immediately spending it. And if you're ever tempted to smash one open, just remember, there's probably an easier way to access your cash. If you enjoyed this video, or if you finally remembered the huge amount of coins you've got tucked away in your piggy bank, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.